So I want you guys to leave this house. My jaw drops in disbelief as my mother-in-law smiles sweetly. My in-laws are trying to kick my husband and me out and have their beloved youngest son and his wife move in with them. This is a house that we worked hard to build. There's no way I can let go of it for such a ridiculous reason. As I clenched my fist in anger, suddenly a woman's voice interjected into the conversation. "Oh, there's no need for that." I couldn't believe my ears. Why is she here? Let's go back a few months. I, Jane, had been discussing our dream home with my husband Wayne almost every day. A charming house with a garden and a picket fence, like one from a fairy tale. It had been my dream since I was little, and I had been envisioning it ever since we got married. We had been diligently saving money to build our ideal home, and our savings were more than enough for the budget. It was just the two of us, but eventually, we would have kids. I wanted to have some enchantments like our secret playrooms throughout the house for them to enjoy. My daydreams were expanding. One day, my mother-in-law Anita called the home phone. Since Wayne was at work, I picked up the call. "I heard the news, Jane. You are building your own house, right?" She spoke as soon as I picked up the phone. I was a little taken aback, but I figured Wayne had told her and replied, yes. "What kind of house are you planning to build? Our cottage style sounds lovely." She guessed my ideal vision, and my excitement grew. We indulged in discussions about our dream homes for a while. It was unexpected, but it was delightful to have such an enjoyable conversation with her. "Hooray for our dream home," I chanted in my mind. To be honest, I found her a bit difficult. I never thought she was a bad person, but it was just that she was quite stingy. For example, when I visited her before, we went out to do some grocery shopping. She loved to talk, so we had a decently enjoyable conversation on the way. Things started to take a strange turn when we arrived at the supermarket. As I put groceries into the cart while looking at my shopping list, she kept interrupting. "Jane, instead of these expensive vegetables, why not go for the pre-cut ones over here? The meat you put in the cart earlier. The stuff just started putting half-price stickers on them, so I will go exchange it. The yogurt isn't on sale here. I think it's on sale at the other supermarket this month, so let's buy it there." It may be considered housewife wisdom, but it became tiresome to be checked and inspected every item I put in the cart. I didn't want to argue or be rude since she wasn't saying anything wrong, so I swallowed my complaints and followed her instructions. Afterward, while we were queuing at the cash register, she suddenly looked up from her phone and grabbed my arm with a sense of urgency. When I asked what was wrong, she told me that tissues and toilet paper were on sale at the pharmacy a few blocks away. She had received a message from a neighbor. "I will go there first, so can you help me carry the bags when we go back?" "But we've already done a lot of shopping and got quite a few bags." "Then go back home once and then come out again. I will wait for you." She then dashed out of the supermarket without hearing my reply. Dumbfounded, I gave in to her enthusiasm and did as she said. Sometime later, she finished her shopping and was waiting for me at the cafe in front of the pharmacy. The seats on either side of her were piled high with tissues and toilet paper, a huge load to carry even across the street. In stark contrast, there was only one glass of water on the table. Surprisingly, she had only been drinking that while waiting for me. She told the waiter she would order something once I arrived. "But it's okay now that you found me. Let's just leave." "Aren't you going to order anything?" When I asked in surprise, She laughed, saying that cafes were expensive. She had been waiting for me for at least 30 minutes. It seemed pretty rude to leave without ordering anything. I told her to order something, as I would pay. Without any hesitation, she took the menu and pondered for a while before finally calling the waiter. "I will have a coffee, please, and may I have an afternoon tea set?" I looked at her in surprise, and she gave me a big grin in return. "I've always wanted to try this. It's embarrassing for me to go to a cafe and eat it alone, you know." That wasn't the issue. Out of all things, she had to order the most expensive item in the cafe. If it were me, when someone treated me, I wouldn't have ordered anything more expensive than what the other person was having. If the other person only ordered a drink, wasn't it proper etiquette to also order just a drink? If she wanted to have a meal, she should have at least said something in advance. Thinking that it would be embarrassing to protest in front of the waiter, I remained silent. In the end, even at the checkout, she cheerfully said her thanks, showing no sign of shame for what she had done. I later heard that she proudly showed the photos of her afternoon tea to the neighbors, bragging about it. That incident made me think she cares too much about appearances, but was stingy with money. "I hope it's going to be a sturdy and beautiful house," Anita said on the phone. She hadn't brought up any money matters at that point. She probably didn't care, as long as it wasn't coming out of her pocket. Just as I was feeling a little relief, she suddenly made a proposal. "Since you are already at it, let's make it a two-family house." "What?" I couldn't help, but I almost shrieked. She didn't seem to care about my reaction, and continued babbling about the two-family house. It seemed like she had done some research beforehand. It was clear that she didn't just come up with the idea on a whim. Feeling uneasy, I said I would consult with Wayne, and hung up before the conversation progressed. She kept repeating, "It's definitely the best idea," until the very end of the call. The following weeks were painful. Not only Anita, but even my father-in-law Steve started to intervene. They even barged into our house together. The main topic, of course, was about building a two-family house. Under their immense pressure, Wayne and I gave in and agreed with the condition that we split the cost. Once the new house was completed, we immediately started living together as a family of 4. Although we called it a two-family house, the shared space was limited to the garage and the yard, and our living spaces were supposed to be separate. However, Anita quickly started to invade our privacy, and before I knew it, she often came to watch TV in our living room. Taking advantage of that, Steve placed his large belongings, like his golf bag, on our side without permission. Gradually, the two of them began to monopolize the entire house. No matter how many times I expressed my distress, they simply dismissed it with "Don't be so rigid." What bothered me the most was that they never paid their share of the promised construction costs. When I asked about the money we were supposed to split, they claimed to have it ready but showed no sign of actually paying. Wayne and I ended up taking out a loan and covering the cost ourselves. "This Sunday, we are having a party with the neighbors, so you two don't bother us, okay?" We were told something like that so often. Anita invited the neighbors over for a home party almost every week. They acted as if there was no agreement to split the cost, and did whatever they pleased. One day, I came home when Anita was seeing off the party guests and overheard her saying this. "We built this house, but it's too spacious for us. We let our son and his wife live here, but it's more enjoyable to have a lot of people over. It's our house, so feel free to come anytime." I couldn't believe my ears. How shameless she lied. She made it sound like they built the house and they were allowing us to live in it. Outraged, I immediately talked to Wayne about it. It seems he had reached his limit with his parents' arrogance as well, as he suggested setting up a proper place to talk. The next day, we courteously told Anita how we were being inconvenienced by the ongoing home parties. Our precious brand new home was being ruined. We wanted to resolve the situation amicably, but she gave no hoot about it. On the contrary, her overbearing behavior increased. She only engaged in activities like barbecues, which caused smoke to seep into the house. Not only that, but after the guests were gone, she just left everything in a mess. She made us do all the cleaning and tidying up. When Wayne and I were both mentally and physically exhausted, my in-laws came up with an idea to invite all the relatives. I asked if I could invite my parents. Then, Anita made a face as if she had bitten a bitter pill. "No! We are already full house with our relatives. Your parents can come another time, okay?" What did it mean that my parents weren't allowed to attend a family gathering? I felt suspicious and called my mom. "Hi, Jane. What's going on?" I was relieved to hear her voice, which I hadn't heard in a long time, and I told her everything. The refusal to let my parents attend the party, and making Wayne and me pay for the entire cost of the new house. She listened and cheered me up by saying that I had done my best despite the hardships. I couldn't help but cry at her sweet words. "Don't worry so much. Everyone is coming, right? It's a special party, so enjoy it." Encouraged by her, despite my anxieties, I gathered my determination. The house was built by Wayne and me. I swore to protect it together with him. On the day of the party, I welcomed the relatives, feeling nostalgic since our wedding. Among them were Wayne's younger brother, Isaac, and his wife. I had only spoken to them a little, but Wayne had told me several times that his parents doted on Isaac. As soon as he appeared, my in-laws became very cheerful. I couldn't help but feel a sense of dissatisfaction with the difference in their attitude toward us. At the same time, I thought if they were in such a good mood, we would spend the day without a hitch. I was a little relieved by the arrival of Isaac and his wife. However, that hope was quickly shattered. "Isaac, how have you been? I've been worried since we haven't heard from you for a while." Anita was attacked to him throughout the party. Steve was watching them from the side. They left all the chores to me and Wayne, and didn't even bother to move from their seats. And then, Anita suggested something outrageous. "You know, why don't you move in with us?"
"We've been discussing it. We'll transfer the ownership of this house to you, so there will be no problem."
They were talking casually, and seemed to be oblivious to what they were really saying. The relatives didn't seem surprised by their statements, as if they believed that the house belonged to my in-laws. Instead, they irresponsibly agreed, saying it was a great idea. "Wait a minute!" I couldn't bear it any longer, and interrupted them. The house was for 2 families. There were no vacant rooms. It was impossible for all of us to live together. In response to my outburst, Anita opened her mouth with a look of annoyance. "So I want you guys to leave." I was speechless, and Wayne stepped forward to take my place. He argued that we had taken out all the loans ourselves and built the 2-family house at their demand.
"We've fulfilled your wishes, but you've done nothing for us. On top of that, you're telling us to leave? How dare you guys!"
It was rare for him to speak so directly, but I felt exactly the same way as him. I nodded in agreement several times beside him.
If this house belongs to you guys, then it's practically ours too. What's wrong with us living here?
You must have a lot of money to be able to build such a big house. So why don't you just build another one? You're older, so give it to your younger brother.
It's not that simple.
Wayne was also exasperated, with a strained expression in his eye. The relatives, who had been watching the exchange between us, perhaps sensing that we were being overwhelmed, began to make statements in support of my in-laws. Isaac and his wife, on the other hand, remained silent, seemingly avoiding any involvement. Occasionally, they exchanged troubled looks and giggled. If things had continued as they did, we would have ended up giving up our house, just like when we were pressured last time. I absolutely couldn't allow them to take our home in that way. No matter what we said, we were overwhelmed by the numbers. We were at a loss. You don't need to give the house up. I couldn't believe my ears when a woman's voice suddenly joined the conversation. I was confused about why she was there. When I turned around, my mom and dad were standing at the entrance to the room. To the astonishment of everyone, the two of them nodded instead of greeting them. Then, my mom walked towards me and smiled, saying, "Surprise!" I could feel my tears coming up from the relief and bit my lip as I nodded. They must have been worried after the call, so they came all the way. I finally understood what my mom meant by not worrying. It seems like everyone here doesn't know, but the ownership of this land belongs to my husband. This house is also ours. We don't want it transferred to someone without our consent, my mom declared with a resolution. Including my in-laws, the relatives looked surprised. It was a shock to those who weren't present at the contract signing. In the midst of the commotion among the relatives, my in-laws anxiously began shouting, claiming it was all a baseless lie. My dad approached them and shut them up in a low rumbling voice.
It can be easily proven by the registry. I suggest you refrain from making unfounded claims.
Blood drained from the in-laws' faces. They must have been freaking out inside. The relatives who had been observing were giving them disdained looks. I knew it was a lie. I was skeptical from the beginning. A well-known local figure is saying so. The whispers were coming not only from inside the room, but also from the hallway. I looked in that direction in puzzlement. There, neighbors were watching us. I assumed my parents had chosen them as witnesses. As a relative said, my dad was a well-known figure in the town and led a Bible study for adults and kids in the local church. My mom also knew many people through her volunteer activities, so she was trusted by the people around her. Their statements turned the table on us, and my in-laws were unable to make any excuses and fell silent. Thus, the party ended in our favor. A few days later, my in-laws, who were shamed in front of all the relatives and neighbors, tried to patch things up but failed miserably. In the end, they fled the house with their tails between their legs a few days later. My parents didn't just let them leave, but they also demanded a large cleaning fee, adding insult to injury. They said it was a punishment for being carried away in our new home, but it was probably done for our sake. I can't thank my parents enough. I recently heard that my in-laws are now living with Isaac and his wife. They rent a small apartment, much smaller than my house. It must be very tight for people to live there. After having their way all this time, I hope they will live modestly without causing Isaac trouble. In reality, I hear they are constantly arguing due to the stress of repayment. Wayne and I invited my parents to live in our immaculately cleaned house, and now we live a peaceful two-family life. Both of them are overjoyed to be able to live next to us. There's no benefit in showing off. I swear in my heart that from now on, I will live to share happiness with the people I care most about.
My husband thinks I'm completely unemployed when I earn $2 million, so he kicks me out. As a result, quote,
Have you reflected back to what you did?
What the heck is he even talking about?
You're having a difficult time without me, right?
Nope, not at all.
Without me, you're kind of homeless, right? It's hard to make a living for the day, right?
He keeps on asking right, but he just needs to shut up. My name is Alana. I am 34 years old. I live with my husband, Jordan, and we both work at a company. I am physically incapable of having kids, and I had told my husband about this when he asked me out first. I was prepared for him to back out on his decision of asking me out once I told him I couldn't have kids. But we were both over 30 years old, and we were at the right age to even consider marriage. I decided that it was something I absolutely had to tell him before I hurt his feelings, though, so I told him about it. Surprisingly, however, what he replied back was gentle and warm, saying,
Even if we don't have children, I would be happy if you were by my side, Alana.
Is what he said, and so we began to go out. When we were going out, I realized that Jordan had a calming aura, and he was great at taking me out on dates. I would be happy if I could marry this man. That's what I would think secretly to myself. 2 years into our marriage, Jordan asked me to marry him, and I was eager to accept his proposal immediately. But I knew I had to make sure about something again before we got married. Thank you. I want to marry you too. But, you know...
Were you just going to talk about not being able to have kids?
Yeah.
I told you before, didn't I? As long as you're by my side, I'll be happy, Alana. Having kids aren't what's important right now, so don't worry. Let's just grow old happily together.
Thank you. Well then, I can't wait to have a married life with you, Jordan. I was at the height of my happiness. Then he came over to greet my parents, and after we went to my husband's parents' house to greet his parents in preparation for our marriage and wedding. But I somewhat felt a little off at my husband's parents' house. This feeling was what told the whole truth, but there was no way I could have realized it at the time, and I was immersed in a false sense of happiness. My in-laws seemed like very nice people, but I think they were somewhat nervous about something. I felt as if Jordan's parents' house was Jordan's kingdom. My husband talked all the time, and my in-laws just listened to him. Once, when my mother-in-law said, "Oh, by the way, back in the day," my husband said,
Do you really want to talk about that now?
and after that, my mother-in-law decided to remain silent. I felt uncomfortable seeing such a scene, but at the time I missed this important clue. And like that, I forgot that I even felt uncomfortable and quickly signed the marriage certificate. Then, little by little, my husband's true nature came out.
One of my subordinates at work just had a baby.
Oh wow! Congratulations to your subordinate.
Everyone in the company is going to send a congratulatory gift. But what do you think would be a nice gift?
Well, maybe baby clothes?
What? I thought diapers would be a good gift option.
Oh, that's also a good idea. Diaper cakes are also popular.
Is that so?
At first, it started out with a casual conversation like this. However, 2 weeks later, every month or so, Jordan would come back with the same topic to me every single time. It always starts with,
One of my subordinates at work just had a baby.
if it is true, then it should definitely be celebrated for sure. But is it possible for a child to be born so soon one after the other in the same company in the same department? To be honest though, I cannot make a judgment on that point. Because I am my own boss and I work from home. So I have no colleagues, no bosses, or subordinates. 6 months into our marriage, my husband has told me dozens of times about his subordinates having a baby. I was indeed curious. So one day I asked my husband a question. Hey, are there really that many people giving births to babies in your company?
Why?
Do you remember how many times your subordinates' kids were born in the past 6 months?
No, I don't remember.
Probably 12 times. You talk about this same topic once every 2 weeks.
Why are you even counting them?
No, I wasn't counting. I was just remembering because you say the same thing every 2 weeks like it's a routine or something.
Oh, really?
Hey, are there really that many people giving births to baby in your company? And do you really have 12 subordinates who all work under you? In the first place, do you have that many subordinates who you have to look after? My husband looked as if he didn't know what to say as I asked these questions. And you always ask me what would be a nice baby gift every time, right? So I've come up with all kinds of ideas for that, yet you deny all of them. So what exactly is it that you want to do here?
No, that wasn't what I meant. I see. I'll try to be more careful.
Then my husband stopped talking about his subordinates giving birth to babies. But now he starts to complain about my housework.
Alana, you're home all the time, right?
Yes, I am.
Don't you think you're becoming lazy with your cooking?
What? Which part?
Well, I feel like the taste is just kind of bland in general.
You mean it's lightly seasoned?
No, I don't mean it like that. How should I put it?
I am indeed at home most of the time. But that doesn't mean I'm not working just because I'm always at home. Moreover, I love to cook. I thought I was taking time out from my busy work schedule to cook elaborate meals to relieve my stress. However, I thought that this was my world of self-indulgence, and that for him, the home-cooked meal wasn't what he preferred. So whenever he pointed this out to me, I would ask him questions, hoping to get closer to his desired tastes. But he would always say only vague things, and so even if I wanted to improve, I could never do so. I gradually became more and more stressed about it.
Even today's cooking too, I don't exactly know how to explain it, but...
You know, I want to cook the way you like it. So could you please point it out what's so wrong about it clearly? You always say things in a vague way, so there's no way to improve.
It's hard to explain it, you know.
Well then, can you cook instead of me? If you cook the way you want to eat them, I'll learn how it tastes. Then my husband became grumpy and moody.
What the? Why? Why do I have to cook instead? I work, don't I?
I mean, you want to eat good, yummy meals, right? That's why I said if you cook some meals once, I'll learn how they taste like. I'm not asking you to cook every time, though, you know?
I mean, you should realize since I've been pointing it out to you many times.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't get what you want me to fix because you're so vague about it.
Oh, that's enough. I don't want to talk to you right now.
What the? What is up with him? And how rude can he be? But from that day on, my husband stopped complaining about the meals I make, but there was no conversation while we ate. Jordan would simply eat his meal in silence and return to his room. This continued for about 2 weeks. After some time, my husband began to speak to me again.
Hey, are you cleaning around the house properly?
Excuse me?
It's kind of dusty.
Oh, really? I don't feel it being dusty at all, though.
It's been bothering me for a while.
I see. I get it. I'll be careful from now on. I said I would be careful, but I'm not at all convinced with what Jordan was saying. I also love to clean. You could say that I'm a neat freak. I mean, where I work is where I live. So I want the environment in which I place myself to be clean at all times. With this in mind, I vacuum the house every day and even wipe down the floors as well. A house that I have gone to such lengths to keep clean cannot possibly be dusty. I didn't know what to do, so I asked a friend of mine, Kendra, who has been very close since college, for advice. I started up Skype to chat with her. Hello, a long time no see. It's been a while. Hey, what's up? Are you tired or something? Do I look like that? Yeah, you have bags under your eyes. What? Are you busy at work or something? No, work is going well. Oh, so is your husband causing you some troubles or something? Yeah, I guess something like that. So I told my friend everything that had been going on with my husband. Then my friend gave a straightforward reply. He's morally harassing you, isn't he? Your husband's trying to make you feel guilty and morally harass you. Oh, really? Yes, I think that's what it is. My subordinate is having a baby crap too. He's been doing that for 6 months, right? I mean, how can a baby be born in such a short period of time? The company he works for isn't that big to begin with, right? So I don't think he has that many subordinates. I think it's really terrible of him to go around saying my subordinate is having a baby knowing that you can't have a baby. I think that he's completely lying. He's having fun hunting you down and making you guilty like that. I see. And the way he was commenting about your meals is just so typical. I mean, he can't even point out the right thing to begin with, can he? Because what you cook is so delicious. Seriously, it's like something that's served in restaurants. So I can't believe he's even complaining about it. He just wanted to embarrass you and make himself feel superior, didn't he? Yeah, you're right. And then you pointed him out to ask what he wants you to exactly fix. But he couldn't say anything in the end, so now he's trying to mess you up even more by saying how you clean the house is dirty, right? He must be crazy. Your place is super clean. I mean, whenever I go over, I feel like I have to change my socks whenever I go into your rooms. How could he even say that it's dusty? And after hearing Kendra saying all these, this reminded me of something. I remember I met my in-laws for the first time when I greeted them before our wedding, and both of them were kind of nervous. Yeah, I knew it. Maybe he's even violent towards his own parents. I think it's better to do something about it as soon as possible, Alana. Yeah, you're right. I felt like all my doubts have been answered by talking to my friend. Ever since we got married, I have been uncomfortable with my husband's words and actions. When my husband came home today, he would start with a rude comment such as, "It smells like mold around here." Hey, do you know what moral harassment is? My husband reacted sensitively to these words. Huh? Are you trying to say that I am morally harassing you? He stared at me with a terrible expression on his face. So, I guess, with that kind of reaction, you know what it means, huh? Then, my husband knocked all the food on the table to the floor. You've got to be kidding me, you know. Since I was being too nice to you, you take advantage of me like this, huh? What? I don't remember you being nice to me since we got married. Huh? What do you mean by that? I mean it as it is. You've just been looking down on me since we got married to satisfy your own sense of superiority, haven't you? My husband widens his eyes in anger. What, are you going to threaten me by dropping all the food from the table like that? I will never give in. Then my husband revealed his true nature. Oh, wow. Well, I've had enough of this. I thought if it was you, you'd obey what I'd tell you. Huh? Then my husband shoves the divorce papers in front of me. You don't want me to divorce you, do you? You're always at home saying you're doing work, but it's the same thing as what an unemployed person would do. Well, he's not fully wrong. I am always at home. You should reflect back to your own actions. I'll follow these papers, so just sign them. And I'll remarry you if you do the right thing. At least I'm not going to get punched in the face from him for the time being. I filled out the divorce papers as I was told, and I saw that Jordan had already signed his parts.
Well then, why don't you get out of my house? I am the owner of this house, you know.
My husband was looking down at me the whole time, but I solemnly obeyed him and left the house, taking only the computer I needed for work and my personal belongings that fit in my suitcase. Then, a few days later, Jordan texted me saying that he had filed the papers. I didn't really feel it, but finally I was free from my scumbag ex-husband. In the end, I wasn't quite sure what my ex-husband wanted from me until the very end. My ex-husband who just only morally harassed me. Simply put, he was just a rude, terrible man who wasn't fit to be my husband. I don't even know how he can go on and on with all the insults and complaints he had for me. At any rate, finally, I'm free from that man. From now on, I will enjoy my life. 2 years after my divorce, my ex-husband had become a distant memory and my life was going pretty well. However, when I received a call from my ex-husband for the first time in 2 years, all these painful memories of the past came back to me. What did he want with me after all this time? From the very beginning, he was very overbearing.
Have you reflected back to what you did?
What the heck is he even talking about?
You're having a difficult time without me, right?
Nope, not at all.
Without me, you're kind of homeless, right? It's hard to make a living for the day, right?
He keeps on asking right, but he just needs to shut up. No, I'm comfortable the way it is now. Because you, who had harassed me, is completely out of my sight.
Oh, don't act so tough. I said I'd forgive you, so just shut up and obey me.
No, you don't have to forgive me at all, okay? I've already built a new house and I'm living a full life.
Huh? Where did you get that kind of money? What? Did you take some of the money from me?
I couldn't help but just laugh at this statement. Wow! Your jokes are getting better. Of course not, why would I? Besides, you only paid the rent. And the rest was all paid by me, remember? And I wasn't depending on you financially. I mean, well, I couldn't. And so this house was built with my own money.
Well then, it must be small and tiny, isn't it? You really don't need to act so tough, you know?
I took a photo of only the amount of the contract for the house and sent it to my ex-husband.
What? $3 million? Where the hell did you hide this kind of money? There's no way you, who's unemployed, have this kind of money.
So I've been telling you that I work from home. You're the only one who treated me like I was unemployed, or I had no job. Well, you know, I go out more often now. I'm busy with various things now that I formed a company. Our annual sales have reached $1 million. My ex-husband was silent for a while, but then he said something outrageous.
I see. Then you should be thanking me. The reason you were able to make it that far was because I kicked you out of the house, wasn't it?
Wow, how annoying could he get? You know what? Do you know why I don't hang up the phone on you?
Of course I know. Because you haven't heard from me in 2 years, 1 month, and 4 days, right?
Wow, that's amazing. I can't believe you get the numbers right and that you're even counting. Well, I'm not hanging up on you because I have something to say. My ex-husband seems to be having fun on the other end of the phone.
Well, I know what you want to say, but okay, I'll hear you out.
Oh, trust me, you definitely don't know what I'm going to say. Can you please stop stalking me?
Huh?
You've been pestering me for the past 2 years, haven't you? And you've been asking me to contact you.
What are you talking about?
You've been calling all my friends, haven't you? You know, it's really disgusting knowing that you're stalking me. I really don't care about you. I really don't ever want to start over with you. No way, absolutely not. I know this, you know. I know that you were recently laid off from your job.
What? Who told you that?
I heard from an ex-colleague of yours whom you morally harassed and was sent to the hospital. He was good at his job, but your company lost a very talented employee indeed. Anyways, he works for us now, and you were finally fired for morally harassing him. Is that why you contacted me? To ask me to support you financially?
No, I thought you'd be waiting for me.
There's no way I'd be waiting for you. You're nothing but a painful memory for me. Don't ever contact me again. Don't ever contact my friends again. I will sue you if you try to contact me or my friends again. I'm going to tell you right now, I hate you. I will never ever remarry you. I hope you age all alone by yourself. I finally hung up the phone on him and took a deep breath. Yes, I feel better. He will eventually become one of my painful memories, which would fade away in the end. What in the world did Jordan even want to do here? His actions didn't make any sense at all. He probably wanted to put his wife under his control, but she was too good for him. The difference in wisdom is just so obvious. Jordan should have definitely been more considerate to his wife. Thank you for watching to the end. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.
My cheating husband demands photo of our daughter's entrance ceremony while away on a business trip. I send him photos of his affair instead.
I'm sorry, I recently couldn't attend the entrance ceremony.
He apologetically patted his daughter on the head and said as much. He lied and said he was on a business trip. I wanted to brush away my husband's dirty hands, who planned to go on a cheating trip, from my daughter's head. After the entrance ceremony ended successfully, my daughter must have been tired because she fell asleep right after dinner. Just before the date changed, as I was about to go to sleep, I received a WhatsApp message from my husband.
Send me a picture of Samantha in her school bag. Normally, you should have sent it before I asked.
Angered by my husband's words, I sent him a picture of the evidence of his affair.
Wait a minute, this is different.
My husband panicked and started to explain himself in a pleading manner. My name is Alana, a 38-year-old office worker. The courage of my husband has been evident throughout our 7 years of marriage. We got married after I became pregnant with our daughter Samantha. Originally, we were acquainted as business partners. As we worked together, our bond grew closer. Eventually, he started inviting me out for meals, and we began dating. Our courtship lasted about 1.5 years, but I was actually happy when I found out I was pregnant because I had been wanting to marry him. It seemed he shared the same sentiment and expressed his desire to build a happy family together. However, since getting married, I feel like I've been more disappointed by my husband than pleased overall. Firstly, regarding household chores, my husband doesn't do any of them at all. I had mistakenly believed that he was capable of basic housework since he had lived alone for a long time. But he has never even held a kitchen knife before. He has hardly ever done any cleaning or laundry. How have you been living like that until now?
I used to eat out, buy convenience store lunches, or have cup noodles, and my mother would come over every week to clean. I was dumbfounded when my husband told me about it after we got married. My husband rarely cooked for himself, and he would just put the garbage outside in a large bin, expecting his mother to come out and dispose of it. My mother-in-law used to come over and take care of the garbage disposal at our house, it seems. Moreover, she would do the cleaning once a week, coinciding with my husband's cleaning routine. As for laundry, my husband believed that as long as he put it in the washing machine with a dryer, it would be done, so he hardly did any actual household chores. That's why, even when we started living together, he didn't do any housework at all. At the beginning of our marriage, I took a 3rd-level maternity leave and stayed at home so I could still manage the housework to some extent. But it became really difficult after my maternity leave ended and I returned to work. After work, I would pick up our daughter from daycare, stop by the supermarket on the way home to buy groceries, and then hurriedly prepare dinner. During that time, I also had to pay close attention to our daughter, and it was mentally exhausting. My husband would come home when he felt like it, complaining about being tired, without even thanking me, and would eat dinner as if it were obvious. Moreover, if I happened to come home a bit late due to overtime or something and dinner wasn't ready yet, he would complain, saying it still wasn't done. Since such things happened regularly, there was a time when I got angry. I'm tired too from working. I actually want to share the household chores, but since you don't do them, I end up doing everything.
Instead of just complaining, I want you to either help or show gratitude." When I yelled at him like that, my husband finally seemed to realize how selfish he had been and apologized, saying,
I'm sorry.
From then on, while he didn't do any housework, he stopped complaining about household matters to me. Afterwards, we generally lived peacefully. Our daughter grew up healthy and I became close with my husband. While listening to stories from her kindergarten days, we would go to the supermarket together and we enjoyed family time during dinner. Time flew by in the blink of an eye. However, recently there's something that's been bothering me. It's my husband's strange behavior. He has stopped having conversations with me and our daughter at home and is constantly engrossed in his smartphone. Sometimes he would smirk while looking at the screen and it made me feel uneasy. When I asked him what he was looking at, he briefly panicked and said,
I'm just checking Twitter or Instagram.
It felt suspicious, but I tried not to pry too much. Furthermore, a few months ago, my husband started going to work early in the morning and staying late for overtime. It seems he has also been working on weekends and his workload has become quite heavy. However, instead of being exhausted, he seems to be in a good mood and full of energy lately. Feeling even more suspicious, I decided to consult with a friend about it.
Does that mean he's having an affair?
Yeah, it seems so.
Yeah, a woman at my workplace had the same problem. And as expected, it seems her husband was having an affair.
She decided to investigate properly and hired a private detective. She managed to obtain evidence of the affair through photos and was able to divorce him with solid proof.
Maybe you should consider investigating too, just to reveal the truth, even if you still have doubts.
Yeah, I agree. Let's look into it. I had considered hiring a private detective myself, but I couldn't gather the courage. If my husband was truly having an affair, I didn't know if I could bear the truth when confronted with it. However, after discussing it with my friend, I felt more at ease and decided to give it a try. My friend recommended a detective agency that her colleague had used before, so I requested an investigation. Luckily, they had a special promotion so I could use their services at a discounted price. From then on, I also started keeping an eye on my husband's suspicious behavior, and so days passed by and a month went by in the blink of an eye. Finally, I received the results of the detective agency's investigation. As expected, my husband was indeed having an affair. The photos provided by the detective agency showed my husband and his mistress being affectionate and entering a hotel together. The mistress turned out to be a junior colleague at his workplace. It seemed that his late returns, early departures, and weekend work were all excuses to meet with his affair partner. A surge of anger welled up inside me. My husband had betrayed me, disregarding our family and indulging in his own desires. I would never forgive him. I vowed to take revenge on my husband. While conducting my own research, I obtained new information about my husband and his mistress. It happened while he was deeply asleep. I used his finger to unlock his smartphone with a fingerprint scanner, and I checked the WhatsApp conversation with his mistress. There, I stumbled upon shocking information. The two of them were planning to go on an affair trip next month. I was speechless. The date they had planned coincided with our daughter's elementary school entrance ceremony. My husband had sent messages to his mistress saying he couldn't wait for the trip and that he was more excited about it than our daughter's entrance ceremony. I captured those messages as photos on my own phone. Oblivious to everything, my husband continued to make excuses about overtime and weekend work to make time for his affair partner. Meanwhile, I proceeded with preparations for divorce. I consulted a lawyer, went to a real estate agent to search for a new place, and made sure I could separate from my husband as soon as possible. My husband, who was absorbed in his affair partner, seemed completely oblivious to the fact that I was gradually packing my belongings. But it was convenient for me. I had made up my mind to leave as soon as the entrance ceremony was over. And on the day of our daughter's entrance ceremony, she was wearing a new outfit and looked extremely happy. Meanwhile, my husband was regretting his inability to attend the ceremony while putting on a fake act.
Why does a business trip have to come up at a time like this? Well, it's work, so I can't help it. It's our important daughter's entrance ceremony, so I wish they would let me take the day off. Seriously, our company has been like a shady company lately.
As he said that while sipping his coffee, it's evident that he's in a cheerful mood. He can't hide his excitement about the upcoming trip with his affair partner. It's truly disgusting. With utmost contempt for my husband, I prepared for the entrance ceremony. Afterward, my husband picked up his suitcase and put on his shoes at the entrance, pretending once again.
I'm sorry, I can't attend the entrance ceremony.
He tried to say it with a fake act, apologizing for not being able to attend the entrance ceremony, and lightly patting our daughter's head. I wanted to get that dirty hand of my husband, who lied that he was on a business trip and was going to go on a cheating trip, off my daughter's head.
No, Daddy always works hard, so it's okay. That's why I'm willing to endure it. Don't worry and do your best at work.
When our daughter said that, my husband's face twitched for a moment. He then smiled wryly and replied,
Yeah, I'll do my best. Thank you.
The guilt must be creeping in when our daughter said that, knowing it's not really work. I suppose he feels guilty when our daughter says things like that because deep down, he knows it's not really work. However, even so, I have no intention of forgiving him under any circumstances. And then my husband left the house with a suitcase in hand. I temporarily switched my feelings and went to the elementary school entrance ceremony with my daughter. She walked confidently. I felt proud as well. I became happy thinking that my daughter's joyful school life was about to begin. I hope she makes lots of friends and creates wonderful memories. Of course, I also want her to study hard. While watching my daughter, I had these thoughts. The entrance ceremony ended smoothly, and my daughter must have been tired because she fell asleep soon after having dinner. Since we will be moving from this house tomorrow, I want my daughter to rest and recover her energy. Just before the date changed, as I was about to go to sleep, I received a WhatsApp message from my husband.
Send me a photo of Samantha in her school bag.
Ugh, too much trouble. Probably felt guilty after our daughter's words this morning and wanted to at least know how the ceremony went. I changed into my pajamas and got into bed for the time being. I was planning to send the photo, but before I could do that, I received another message from my husband.
Normally, you should have sent it without me asking. You never think ahead, do you? I reluctantly came on this business trip, you know.
What is he talking about? His words angered me. In response, I sent him evidence of his affair, a photo of him entering a hotel with his mistress, their arms entwined. Immediately, I received a call, but I didn't answer. I turned off my phone. I don't want to waste my energy on a phone call at this hour, considering we have the move tomorrow. I had a peaceful sleep, and the next morning I packed my belongings with my daughter. When I turned on my phone in the morning, there were numerous messages from my husband, but I ignored them and focused on dealing with the moving company. Finally, my daughter and I completed the move. I'm sorry, Samantha. From today onward, it will be just you and me living here. We won't live together with your father anymore. When I said that, it seemed like my daughter, though still a child, understood something.
If you become sad by living with Dad, then it's better for me to live with you. So I want to live here with you, Mom.
Tears welled up in my eyes upon hearing my daughter's words. How did she become such a clever child? I felt truly sorry for inconveniencing her due to the circumstances of her parents. From now on, I have to live as a strong single mother and protect my daughter. With a strong determination, I made up my mind. A few hours later, my husband returned home. The phone rang again, and I knew it was time to face him.
Alana, you finally showed up. What the hell is that photo?
That's what I wanted to ask you.
Well, let's meet and talk in person for now.
Reluctantly, I agreed to meet my husband at a diner. As soon as he saw me, his face turned pale and he rushed over.
Alana, thank you for making time.
Don't misunderstand. I wanted you to sign the divorce papers, so I made time to meet you in person.
Divorce?
Why are you so surprised? It's only natural since you had an affair. I laid out the photographic evidence in front of my husband. And besides the photos I sent you, I still have more.
Wait, listen, this is different. I was set up. I had something put in my drink at that time.
My husband started desperately explaining to me, looking very flustered. Can't you come up with a better lie? I know very well that you willingly had an affair. I showed him the photos of the WhatsApp conversations between him and his mistress.
When did you?
I opened WhatsApp while you were fast asleep, going on an affair trip on Samantha's entrance ceremony day. How despicable. What kind of business trip was that? Your lousy lies were unbearable. My husband blushed when he realized that I knew everything and had witnessed his poor acting.
You knew?
Of course. That's why I was able to send you these photos. Upon hearing that, my husband placed his hands on the table and bowed his head.
I was wrong. I was just fooling around with her. You and Samantha are the only ones who matter to me. So please, don't divorce me.
He begged like that, always so self-centered. If that's the case, then you shouldn't have gone on an affair trip on our daughter's entrance ceremony day. You're just all talk. Whether you sign the divorce papers or not doesn't matter to me. I will divorce you, even if it goes to court.
Huh?
My husband realized that I was determined, and his face turned pale. Besides, I've already moved to a new house with Samantha. Samantha has agreed to live with just me.
That's...
Well, let's handle the alimony and other matters through lawyers then. My husband looked utterly defeated and slumped in his seat. I stood up, ignoring him, and left the diner. Afterward, I claimed alimony from my husband and his mistress. Of course, I also demanded child support from my husband. He resisted the divorce until the very end, but when the lawyer said it would go to court, he finally came to his senses and signed the divorce papers. By the way, my ex-husband told me that he didn't want to divorce me, and that it was just a fling with his mistress. I made sure to inform his mistress, who was very shocked to hear that. After paying the alimony, it seems that the mistress decided to break up with my husband. Since I sent a certified letter to his workplace, he couldn't stay there and ended up quitting. My ex-husband lost his wife, daughter, mistress, and the trust at his job all at once. Currently, it seems he is enduring a cold and distant life, working hard to pay the substantial alimony and child support. On the other hand, I am living a comfortable life in a new home with my daughter. She seems to enjoy school and tells me about her day with a smile every day. I feel the happiest when I hear her stories while having dinner together. I will continue to work hard to protect my life with my daughter. Going on an affair trip on your daughter's entrance ceremony day? It's impossible to say what he values his daughter, right? I wish men like this would disappear from the world. It's good that Alana was able to file for alimony and child support. Please continue to have a happy and harmonious life with your daughter. Thank you for watching until the end. If you liked the content, please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.
My husband asks me to pay alimony for his sister since she had an affair. When I refused, I got mad at what he tried to do.
Huh? $10,000?
That's how much I need. So take the money out of the inheritance you got from your father, Monica.
No way. There's no way you can use $10,000 from the inheritance. I mean, why should I use my father's inheritance for your family in the first place?
You're a heartless person. Your own husband's family is in trouble.
Then it's only normal for you to explain why your family needs the money, right? It's no use talking to you. Let's go to your parents' house right now so I could ask them about it.
What?
My name is Monica. I'm a 42-year-old office worker. I live with my husband Ben and our daughter Rachel, who is in the 9th grade. We fight sometimes, of course, but we are happy as a family in our own way. I thought that our daily life would go on as usual. However, it seems that things are not as they seem, since just the other day my father passed away due to illness. I was really sad because he had taken very good care of me. I cried at the funeral. My mother was also very sad about the loss of her beloved husband. After that, when I had calmed down, my father's inheritance was transferred to my bank book. My eyes almost popped out of my head when I saw the amount. Of course, the amount was split with my mother, but it amounted to a few $1,000s. Actually, my father was the owner of several companies, therefore he had considerable assets. However, that didn't turn him into a person who showed off how rich he was. He had always been a frugal person, and he led an ordinary life. He did not own luxury brands or go frequently to eat out at luxury restaurants, nor did he live the life of a so-called rich person. Even the allowances he gave me was the average amount, so he had a common sense of money. Therefore, it was quite a shock for me to suddenly receive tens of thousands of dollars in my bank book. When I talked to my mother about it, she told me, "It was left to you by your father, so spend it as you like." Spend it as I like, huh? If I think it that way, then I guess I'd like to leave it for my daughter and my family. My daughter is a high school student, and her tuition fee will cost more and more every year. It would also be good to use that money to fund my future retirement. I decided that I would use this money in case something happened to me. Therefore, I decided not to touch it at all, to leave it as if it had never existed, and to use it when I really needed it. From then on, I went about my normal daily life as usual. Then my husband suddenly said he needed to talk to me. What's wrong?
Well, I got a call from my mother.
Your mother? Is something wrong?
No, they want us to lend them some money.
What? What do you mean?
I don't know the details, but they said it's been tough for them.
What's tough for them, though?
Well, anyway, they just need a lot of money. That's why she's asking for our help.
But we don't have a lot of money. We are saving our money for Rachel's tuition anyway.
About that, you did receive an inheritance from your father who passed away, right?
Excuse me?
Don't tell me that you didn't receive it. Know that my father-in-law owned several companies too. He must have had some assets for you to inherit. I mean, there's no way that you, who's your father's only daughter, didn't get it, right? Even if you hid it from us, we'd find out about it, you know?
It was a statement I never expected to hear, especially from my husband. And it was certainly a lot which I inherited, so I didn't tell my husband about it. Because I also heard that when people get a tremendous amount of money, their personality could change. I was going to manage that money as if it was basically not there. So I was surprised when my husband mentioned the inheritance, even though I hadn't said anything about it. Well, yes, I did receive a little bit, but...
How much did you receive?
Huh?
I'm asking you, how much did you receive for the inheritance?
Now, wait a minute. Why do I have to tell you that so suddenly?
I see. You got a lot that you can't even tell me, huh?
No, it's not like that.
Okay, then, I guess you'd be able to manage about $10,000.
Huh? $10,000? What are you talking about?
That's how much I need. So take the money out of the inheritance you got from your father, Monica.
No way. There's no way I can give you $10,000. First of all, what are you going to use that kind of money for?
I told you I don't know the details either.
That's just so weird. Why should I spend my father's inheritance for your family anyways?
You're a heartless person. Your own husband's family is in trouble.
then it's only normal for you to explain why your family needs the money, right? I mean, your parents should come and ask me directly for it, right?
No, it has to be through me first.
It's no use talking to you. Let's go to your parents' house now so I could ask the details to them.
What?
If you won't go, I'll go by myself and ask them.
Okay, I'll go too.
My husband reluctantly agreed, and we went to my parents-in-law's house. My in-laws were surprised that we visited them so suddenly. Oh, what in the world is going on?
What a sudden visit from you two.
I think it's more sudden to ask us to give you $10,000. When I said that, their faces stiffened. I'll make a pot of tea right away.
Oh, you two came a long way. Come in, come on up.
So we all sat down in the living room and started to talk about it. Please kindly explain. How did you come to need such a large amount of money? Well, you see,
it's been tough for us too, you know.
My in-laws were being very vague, just like how Ben was. That's enough. If you don't want to explain it properly, I'll leave. I can't pay $10,000 for a reason that won't be explained to me. I stood up and my in-laws stopped me as if they were hanging on to me desperately. Wait a minute.
I'll explain it. Just please listen.
Then my parents-in-law awkwardly told me why they needed the money. What? My sister-in-law had an affair and you need the money to pay for her alimony? What the heck? She did that again? Actually, my sister-in-law has been requested for alimony in the past because of her affair. At that time, as I recall, my parents-in-law paid it on her behalf. Yes, that's right. This time, the person who she cheated with was married. Not only her husband, but also the wife of the lover is demanding alimony from her as well. Huh?
And that amount is $10,000 in total.
What in the world does she do to get a claim of $10,000 in alimony? That's a lot, isn't it? I was beyond angry and dismayed. How much have these people spoiled their own daughter? And to think that they could no longer handle it themselves and would turn to their own son's wife? Please, we have no one to turn to but you. I'm sorry, but I can't pay the fees for her affair.
Oh no. Hey, Monica, you're being too much.
You tried to get me to give you money without telling me why, didn't you? I didn't like how this started out from the beginning. And the reason why you didn't tell me the reason until the last minute was because you really didn't think it was possible to borrow money for such a thing, right? When I said that, both my husband and my in-laws got quiet. I said, I won't give the money anyway, and left my parents-in-law's house. That night, my husband stayed at my parents-in-law's house for a while and came back home.
Why did you go home first?
Because there was nothing more to talk about.
Mom and Dad were crying. They were saying, what are we going to do now?
Excuse me? It was your sister who got into this mess in the first place, wasn't it? I don't understand why your mother and your father is being like this.
That's only natural since we're all a family. My sister doesn't have $10,000 to pay and my family don't have that kind of money either. That's why we can only depend on you, Monica.
But that's not right. Normally you pay for your own alimony, right? Even if the alimony is very expensive, there are ways to pay it in installments. Isn't your sister repeating the same mistake because her family is helping her out for everything?
Anyway, Monica, you got the inheritance and has quite a bit of money to spare, right? If that's the case, why don't you give us a little help?
I'm trying not to spend that money in case something happens to us or Rachel. We can use it for Rachel's school fees, for our retirement, and for many other things.
If you say that the inheritance is there in case something happens to us, it also applies to my sister, doesn't it?
No, why?
What? You're abandoning your family?
Wow, it really is no use talking to you. My priority is Rachel, and next is me and you. And the reason why your sister needs it is just too disappointing and she deserves what she got. I mean, If she was in an accident and you all needed money for medical treatment, that's one thing. But alimony for your own infidelity? I honestly think that's disgusting.
Are you trying to insult my sister?
I'm just giving you the general opinion. This is what happens when you and your mother spoil your sister. You know that, right? If you really care about your sister, then you should hold her accountable for her own actions.
Huh. You've changed since you got your inheritance.
I beg your pardon?
I don't know how to explain this, but you've become so stingy.
What?
That's enough. I was stupid to depend on you.
Saying that, my husband went back to his room. What was that? He talked to me as if he was looking down on me. He's the one who's insane. I was completely disappointed with my husband. The next day, something unexpected happened. When I came home from work, my daughter came running up to me with an anxious look on her face. Rachel, what's wrong? Well, it's Dad. As soon as he got home from work, he packed up his stuff and... What? Dad said that he was going back to his parents' house, so he asked me if I wanted to come too. I told him I was waiting for you, Mom, and he said, okay, and just left. Hey, did you and Dad have a fight? I can't believe he actually left. Rachel, I'm sorry for worrying you. Dad and I had a bit of a fight, you see, and your dad got upset and went back to his parents' house. I see. She still looks worried. Is there still something wrong? Well, actually, Dad asked me where you hid your bank book and stuff. Excuse me? When I asked him why, he said he was going to cancel the savings account and the insurance. What? I didn't understand, but somehow I thought he was trying to do something wrong without telling you, so I told him I didn't know. Thank you, Rachel. You've been a great help. To my surprise, my husband found it impossible to rely on my inheritance, and now he was trying to get money by canceling our daughter's school savings account. I can't stay married to someone like that anymore. That's what I thought to myself. Mom, is something wrong? I had no choice but to tell her the truth. Told my daughter the whole story as it was. Then she exclaimed, Dad's the worst! What in the world is wrong with my aunt, grandma, and grandpa? Who do they think my mom is? And they were even trying to cause trouble to me too? Mom, you need to break up with a guy like him. Are you sure about that? You'll lose your father, and plus, you'll have to change schools too, you know. That's fine. Because it is not better for me or you to be with a guy like Dad. My daughter insisted that much that I made up my mind. Thankfully, my husband never came back himself, so Rachel and I found a room to move it into. Then later that day, the divorce papers in hand, I rode up to my in-laws' house with my lawyer. When I arrived home, my in-laws greeted me and said terrible things to me. Who the hell do you think you are?
You heartless woman who won't even try to help us.
Are you sure you could say that? I'm recording what you just said, so I could sue you for moral harassment, you know. What? When I said that, my in-laws became quiet and led me through to the living room. In the living room, my husband was sitting with his arms crossed as if he was the boss of the house.
Finally, you're here. You finally decided to offer me $10,000?
Are you stupid? Of course not.
What?
I wanted to say something to you. You're disgusting, sneaking around behind my back and trying to get money by canceling my daughter's school savings account. You should be ashamed of yourself as a father.
Shut up. I was just trying to help my precious sister. What's wrong with trying to take care of your own family?
You think it's okay if my family is in trouble because of that?
Well, it's not like you guys are in trouble like my sister, right?
So you think it's okay for us to be in trouble then? Fine, I get it. Well, Rachel and I don't need you in our lives.
Huh? What are you talking about?
Let's get a divorce.
Huh?
I said that and put the divorce papers on the table. This guy is my lawyer, so we can start talking about child support and so on right away.
Wait a minute. You can't just suddenly start talking about divorce.
That's right. Monica, you better think this through.
Whether you think about it or not, the answer is the same. If you and I stay as a family any longer, I will only be used as a convenient money tree.
You don't have to put it that way.
But it's true, isn't it? When I came over earlier, your mother and father said something terrible to me, just because I didn't help them pay off for their daughter's alimony.
Well, that's...
Hey, please just reconsider. Even Rachel won't approve of this. She'd be shocked.
Unfortunately, Rachel wants us to get a divorce, and after the divorce, she wants to live with me. She doesn't want to see her dad, her grandma, or her grandpa anymore.
No way!
My husband was quite shocked that his daughter abandoned him. His parents-in-law were also depressed and looked down knowing that their granddaughter said that. After that, my husband, who had lost all his hope, signed the divorce papers with an explanation from my lawyer. Thus, our divorce was successfully finalized. My daughter and I are living peacefully in our new home. Ben originally asked me to let him see his daughter because he would pay child support. But I gave him the condition that he would pay child support and have it to his daughter's decision each time whether or not to see him. By the way, Rachel still does not want to see her father, and my ex-husband has not been able to see his daughter at all. My ex-husband still contacts me to ask me to get back together with him, but I ignore all of his messages. He also reported to me that his sister is having a hard time, even though I didn't ask for any information at all. Apparently, Ben's parents and my ex-husband couldn't help her with money either, and she is currently working nights to pay off the alimony little by little. She is not getting along with her lover either, and is now back at her parents' house. As expected, my parents-in-law have decided that they can no longer spoil my sister-in-law, and they are nagging her every day and giving her all sorts of warnings. Well, from my point of view, it's like they are finally doing something about it. On the other hand, my daughter and I live comfortably together in a spacious and beautiful apartment. My daughter has become much better at housework, and she supports me a lot during my busy work schedule. I am sure she will be a good wife in the future. I am happy that she seems to have made friends at her new school right away. I would like to continue to live happily with my daughter, supporting each other. Thank you for watching to the end. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.